And let's get to our first guest of the program, my good friend, a man of great integrity, Luke Johnson, who covers the Saints for the Advocate. He spent his entire weekend up in Indianapolis for the NFL Combine. He's good enough to give us a few minutes of his time. Luke, I'm sure you're pretty worn out between Mardi Gras and the Combine, but thanks for giving us a few minutes. How you doing today?
Man, I'm finally starting to recover of my sleep deficit here. I'm thinking about writing a letter to the NFL saying, hey, from just your New Orleans contingent, do not back up the Combine and Mardi Gras right up next to one another. I'd like to get a little bit of sleep over a 2-week stretch.
I, too, would be unable to sleep if I got to spend my evenings watching large men run and jump and do all that kind of good stuff. Who were some of the freakiest people you watched work out at the Combine, just off the top of your head?
Oh, man. I think you could look at Kyle Duggar, the Division II safety from Lenoir Rhine.
Ooh, that's a deep cut you've come right off the top with. I like that.
No, I mean, this guy's potentially going to be a first round, maybe a second round draft pick, just based almost entirely off of his physical measurables. He's kind of like in the Derwin James mold, a kind of a hybrid safety linebacker guy. And he ran like a 4.49 with a 42-inch vertical and an 11.5-foot broad jump. Just an absolute freak. I think everybody saw the video of Louisville offensive lineman Mekhi Becton. He's 6'7", 364 pounds, running a 5.1 40, which is just absurd. It's 0.2 of a second faster than Tom Brady ran his. That guy's an absolute freak. Isaiah Simmons, I'm sure LSU fans are very familiar with him. That guy's 240 pounds running a 4.39. That doesn't make any sense. And then another guy, Chase Claypool out of Notre Dame. People were wondering maybe if he'd be a better fit for tight end in the NFL, and then he goes out there at 6'4", 238 and runs like a 4.42. I think this year's combine, maybe more than some recent ones, just had just a lot of guys who at their size should not have been doing the things they were doing. And I think that was kind of exciting.
I agree. Very exciting. As for the Saints, they own the 24th pick in this NFL draft. They do not have a second-round pick as of right now. What do you see? I know it's still early. Now that we're past the Combine, there's still pro days, individual meetings, all that kind of stuff still to go. What kind of needs do you see them addressing with that pick, and could they possibly trade it to try to accrue more assets?
So I think it would be smart to try to trade down because I think there are just with the glut of wide receivers, which is kind of what I think everybody considers their biggest need, even if the Saints aren't saying it. They could move back 5-6 spots, still get a really good wide receiver, and accrue some more draft assets. Because right now they don't have a whole lot. They have 5 picks, and I think that'd be smart. But if you're looking at the Saints' history as an organization, they haven't traded down in the draft, not even from like the 4th round to the 5th round or 4th round to later in the 4th round, anything like that. They haven't done that since 2007. They're a team that trades up and gets the guy they want. So it's really tough for me to envision them actually acquiring more assets, even if that looks like it'd be kind of the best way in this draft. If they stay at 24, there's going to be so many receiver guys they could choose from there. I think Justin Jefferson would be a great fit.
That was going to be my follow-up. Luke, you read my mind. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've been together long enough, James. This is just how we do it.
Couple of guys talking ball. That's what you're getting here.
Couple guys being dudes.
Exactly.
But look, I think Justin Jefferson made such a great case for himself at the Combine this week. He's big enough. It's 6'1" and change. He had a 78-inch wingspan, which is about comparable with the guys out there who are 6'3" or 6'4". And then he went out and ran a 4.43 40, which I think opened a lot of eyes. People were probably expecting him to run something in the 4.5 range. And he showed that his production last year wasn't just because he was in a great system and he's this savvy player or whatever. He's a really good athlete. And the Saints were probably watching that 40 and like, okay, yeah, I like this guy. And then as they keep watching and go through everything, they're like, oh man, I wonder if this guy's going to be available at 24. Yeah, they'll have a lot of guys to choose from if they want to stay there. Maybe Jefferson's one of them, but I think Jefferson might have even worked his way up into the high 20s, if not earlier, with the performance he put on in Indianapolis.
Is there any way do you see any other ways they could go at 24 aside from receiver? I mean, what in your mind are some of this team's other needs that they could address there? Or I know they're not saying it, or is receiver really number one with a bullet in terms of what the Saints are looking to do with their top draft assets?
I really think that receiver makes the most sense just because of how deep this class is, and they would be able to get probably a really good receiver in the third round if they chose to do so. It's one of the best things about this class is it's deep at the top, but it's also deep throughout. I think they could find a really good player at wide receiver in the third round. Maybe somebody like USC's Michael Pittman, even though he had a pretty good combine performance for a guy who's like 6'5". So they could get somebody later on in the draft if somebody falls to them that they really, really like. I think they could use another safety because Von Bell is a free agent. If somebody like Grant Delpit fell or Kyle Duggar, like I was mentioning, they really like him. Maybe he's somebody they want to take instead of a wide receiver. If one of the top linebacker prospects they really like fell to 24, maybe somebody like Patrick Queen, who I think would be really scary next to Demario Davis in that defense. I know I'm just mentioning a bunch of LSU guys, but just so happens.
I mean, there are a lot of LSU guys in this draft. I don't think that's something intentional.
Got a bunch of really good players in this draft and guys who are going to be first round kind of targets in that area. But all that being said, I would be really surprised. I'm not surprised, but I think wide receiver is if you're gonna target a wide receiver to be the number 2 guy behind Michael Thomas. This feels like the draft to do that.
Tell Huck I said hi. We got a couple minutes.
No, that's Oscar.
Oh,
we got Oscar.
I thought he'd be the older, more mature one at this point. Wouldn't be barking during your interviews, but I digress.
This is not his radio debut. We're gonna go ahead and just close these blinds and let him stop barking the mailman.
We got about another minute and a half here with Luke Johnson, the advocate. Is there any way you see this team? I know they're still working on the contract with Drew Brees to bring him back in the fold for this year. Is there any way you see this team drafting, and I'm not saying the first round, but maybe one of their higher picks, taking a quarterback, or is it really Brees and then the ascension plan is for Taysom Hill down the line? What's your kind of read on that situation?
No, I absolutely think there's a chance to draft a quarterback, and it's possible they do draft one in the first round. If somehow, some way they let Taysom Hill get away, he's going to be a restricted free agent. And if somebody really, really likes him and wants to pay him a ton of money, and the Saints don't lock him up to a long-term contract extension before free agency hits, maybe somebody offers Taysom Hill a contract that the Saints can't match, and then they have to get a first-round draft pick back in return. And I could totally see him using that to draft a quarterback, or in the third round, if a guy like Jalen Hurts is still there, maybe trying to draft Drew Brees' successor. It's definitely within the realm of possibility. And once free agency rolls around, we should get a better idea of it.
Luke, really appreciate you giving us a few minutes here. Give a plug to all the things you penned during Combine Week, as it were.
Yeah, you can find basically everything I write and a bunch of other stupid tweets online at by Luke Johnson on Twitter. You can read all my stuff at NOLA.com or just pick up a copy of The Advocate.
Luke, thanks a lot, buddy. Enjoy the rest of your week. Go get some rest, man. You got dogs barking. You did Mardi Gras. You did the Combine. You deserve a little bit of a break, man. Come on.
A little bit. I'll get one.